History has a wicked sense of humor. It watches amused as leaders who should know better march straight into the traps it has set 100 times before. It watches them strike deals with those who once hunted them, convinced they're the ones pulling the strings, right up until the moment they realize they're the ones being played. And right now, Benjamin Netanyahu is walking straight into one of history's oldest, most dangerous traps. In his relentless pursuit of power, Netanyahu has forged an alliance with the white far right, a movement that not so long ago would have seen Jews as their ultimate enemy. Across Europe and the United States, he has embraced the very forces that build their politics on racism, nationalism, and beneath the surface, the same anti-Semitic paranoia that has fueled disaster after disaster for Jewish communities. And now, in a move that marks a chilling new chapter, Israel has officially lifted its diplomatic ban on 3 of Europe's most notorious far-right parties: France's National Rally, Front National, Sweden's Sweden Democrats, Spain's Vox. These are not just hard-right parties with controversial views. These are movements with deep roots in fascism. Parties that trace their origins to Nazi collaborators, Francoist loyalists, and white supremacists. For years, Israel kept them at arm's length, but suddenly the ban is gone. Why? Because for now, they say the right things. They denounce Islam and immigration. They wave Israeli flags at rallies. They call Israel a bulwark of Western civilization. The courtship spans the continent. In Spain, the far-right Vox party, repeatedly challenged in court for its Islamophobic rhetoric, was welcomed in Israel in December 2023, meeting with Likud ministers to discuss the supposed threat of radical Islam and the defense of European values. This is not the language of Jewish safety. It is the language of ethno-nationalists who see Jews as useful for now, but disposable in the long run. Vox leader Santiago Abascal returned to Israel in 2024 to denounce Spain's recognition of Palestinian statehood, standing shoulder to shoulder with Netanyahu. The optics were striking. A man whose ideology bears the fingerprints of exclusionary, nativist thought, one that has historically turned against Jews, now embraced in Jerusalem's halls of power. Then there's Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, the bleach blonde firebrand whose entire career is built on demonizing Muslims. He promises to move the Dutch embassy to Jerusalem to reinforce Holocaust education, not out of any real concern for Jewish history, but because it serves his anti-Muslim narrative. Wilders even attempted to appoint a minister with alleged Mossad ties, a move blocked only when Dutch intelligence refused clearance. And now, with the ban lifted, Marine Le Pen's National Rally, the party founded by her father Jean-Marie Le Pen, who dismissed the Holocaust as a detail of history, is also welcomed into the fold. In Sweden, the Sweden Democrats, a party with deep neo-Nazi roots, now finds itself embraced by Netanyahu's government. But no country better encapsulates Netanyahu's cynical realpolitik than Hungary, where he has embraced Viktor Orbán, despite Orbán's government unleashing state-sponsored anti-Semitic tropes in a campaign against Jewish financier George Soros. While Hungarian Jewish communities raised the alarm over rising antisemitism, Netanyahu remained silent, even ensuring Israel's ambassador withdrew a rare statement of criticism. Why? The reason is clear. Orbán, despite his dog whistles and nationalism, is a loyal defender of Israel's atrocities in Gaza and the West Bank within European institutions. The rationale behind these alliances is as cynical as it is dangerous. First, these far-right parties have rebranded Israel as the spearhead of Judeo-Christian civilization, the front line of the West against Islam. Wilders has called Israel the West's first line of defense. This is not support, it is instrumentalization. Second, these alliances offer the far-right an easy way to launder, whitewash their anti-Semitic records. Parties once tainted by Nazi nostalgia and Holocaust revisionism now slap a pro-Israel sticker on their brand and expect to be absolved. And Netanyahu has handed them the ultimate shield. And third, in exchange for this absolution, they offer unwavering diplomatic support, defending Israel's every action, no matter how controversial, no matter the cost. But this isn't just a European affair. In the United States, Netanyahu has made his bed with the hard right, hitching his fate to people who do not love Jews so much as they hate Arabs and Muslims. Take the white evangelical movement, the Christian Zionists. They do not support Israel because they care about Jewish survival. No, they support Israel because in their apocalyptic fantasies, it is a necessary piece of the end of times puzzle. John Hagee, the founder of Christians United for Israel, has openly preached that Hitler was sent by God to drive Jews to the Holy Land. Yes, that's right, Hitler as an instrument of divine will. And yet, Netanyahu continues to embrace him and his movement. And then there's Donald Trump, Israel's self-proclaimed greatest ally. When white nationalist Nick Fuentes dined with Trump, Netanyahu remained conspicuously quiet. And let's not forget Steve Bannon, the man who built Trumpism, who now openly flirts with fascist imagery. At the 2025 CPAC conference, before a cheering crowd, Bannon raised his hand in a salute eerily reminiscent of Nazi rallies. The gesture was unmistakable, the symbolism chilling. And yet Bannon's real warning was not about Muslims. No, he told an Israeli journalist that the greatest threat to Israel was not Islamists or Iran, but progressive American Jews.
The number one enemy to the people in Israel are American Jews that do not support Israel and do not support MAGA.
This is an old anti-Semitic tactic, splitting Jews into good and bad categories, rewarding those who fall in line while vilifying those who don't. It's a game as old as anti-Semitism itself. For centuries, rulers and demagogues have tried to divide Jews between the loyal ones and the traitors, the assimilated and the outcasts, the acceptable and the expendable. Trump's played the exact same card when he complained that only 40% of Jews voted for him, calling the remaining 60% disloyal. Disloyal to whom exactly? To him? To Israel? The implication was clear. If you're a Jew who doesn't support Trump, doesn't unquestioningly endorse Israel's brutal occupation and expansionist extremism, you are suspect, untrustworthy. This is not the first time Zionist leaders have believed they could strike deals with anti-Semitic forces. Theodor Herzl once wrote, "The anti-Semites will become our most dependable friends. The anti-Semitic countries are allies." David Ben-Gurion was even more explicit. "I think we should act according to Zionist considerations and not merely Jewish considerations." This logic reached its most grotesque form in the 1933 Havara Agreement, when the Zionist movement, including the Jewish Agency, brokered a deal with Nazi Germany to facilitate Jewish immigration to Palestine with special financial arrangements. The Nazis, in turn, used it to weaken international boycotts against them. The agreement transferred 53,000 Jews to Palestine over 6 years until the outbreak of the Second World War. Meanwhile, the revisionist Zionists, the ideological ancestors of Netanyahu's Likud, forged ties with Mussolini's fascist regime in the 1930s, training their youth in Italy until racial laws made the alliance untenable. Netanyahu is not breaking from history. He is repeating it. But this time, the cost could be even greater. Former Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, one of Israel's staunchest defenders in Washington, has already issued a stark warning. Netanyahu has lost his way. Israel cannot survive if it becomes a pariah. The far right does not change. Their hatreds do not disappear, only temporarily redirect. And when their knives are no longer needed against Muslims, when the political winds shift, when they look for a new scapegoat, when their racist nationalist vision returns to its roots, openly targeting Jews once more, and Netanyahu's Israel is no longer useful, who will be left to stop them?